But what I can wholeheartedly assure your viewers is that if you come to Rochester, you will be welcomed, you will be safe, and really we miss our Canadian our visitors, and so that was why we wanted to write a love letter saying we see you, we miss you.
If you've been around my channel, you probably know where this one's going. Another US rep telling Canadians they miss us, their city is safe, and that we're all welcome back. At this point, we should really start taking bets. Which US town will be next? My guess? Probably another city out east that has realized Canadians aren't coming. Because let's face it, they're not learning. We're well into the summer, but the US tourism numbers, they're still going down, and the summer is what they relied on. Today's report comes from CBC. They interviewed Rachel from Visit Rochester, who decided to send Canada a love letter. Now, CBC usually turns off their comments, so Rachel probably has no idea what the reaction is to her love letter. That's where this video comes in. I'll make sure that she sees the comments to her love letter. You're welcome, Rachel. Before we start, I just want to give a big shout out to our newest channel members. It really means a lot that so many of you have chosen to support the channel. Your support genuinely motivates me to keep going. I'll be posting more member updates and polls soon, so stay tuned for that. And thank you again. I truly appreciate it. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so cities and towns in the U.S. have seen a decline in Canadian visitors, and our next guest can speak to the impact. Rachel Labour is with Visit Rochester, and that's where she's joining us from, about an hour and a half east of the Canadian border. So, Rachel, tell us firsthand, how significant is the decline in Canadian visitors in Rochester?
Good evening. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. So we here in Rochester, New York, as you noted, we are just 90 minutes from the Canadian border, and we typically see anywhere from 15 to 20% of our total visitors, of which we estimate about, that's a total of 2 million people a year. So we take 15 to 20% of that. Are coming from Canada. So while it's still a little soon to have a lot of concrete data, we do know that anecdotally, some of our museum and attraction partners have definitely seen a softening of visitation.
I'm sorry, but what do you mean it's too soon to get concrete data? The concrete data is literally you sending us this so-called love letter, begging Canadians to come back and spend money in your city. You can't say you don't have enough data when this tourism boycott has been going on since February or March.
But even more so, we've heard the sentiment directly from visitors coming from Canada who say that the time is just not right and they're not ready to travel to the U.S.
And I'd like to hear what tourist attractions and small businesses in the community, what they're saying firsthand as well.
Yeah, so a city like Rochester that, by the way, is on the southern shore of Lake Ontario. So, when I tell people where I'm from, I say I live closer to Toronto than New York City, which can often be a surprise to people. But a place like Rochester, we have a really special relationship with our neighbors to the north and with Canadian travelers. So,
okay, Rachel, I hate to break it to you, but any history your city or honestly your country had with Canada just isn't what it used to be anymore. If you tell me, as a Canadian, that we shared years of history and that visiting your city was always something that we did, I'll tell you this, that history is over. And moving forward, it doesn't hold the same meaning for us anymore. I feel like I'm having deja vu, like I've said this over and over again to multiple US tourism reps and government officials. Weird. Anyways, let's continue with her love letter.
Above all else, just knowing that there is a hesitation to travel, we feel that really on a personal level, because these are not just potential travelers, these are our neighbors and our friends. And so museums and attractions and experiences, they've definitely seen a slight decline. I should note that we are still seeing a slight uptick then of domestic travel here in the US that helps balance that out. But regardless...
Is it really balancing things out though? Because domestic tourism isn't bringing in new money. It's money that's already in your economy. You're just moving it from one pocket to another. It might help soften the blow, but let's not pretend it's the same as international. No matter how you spin it, domestic tourism will never make up for the kind of spending that comes from international visitors.
We are really eager to just let our neighbors to the north, Canadian travelers, know that when you're ready, Rochester will be here. And that was really the impetus for a new campaign that we just launched in the Canadian market recently.
Yeah, I want to get into that campaign a little bit. Rachel, you guys issued a letter, quite the love letter, about how much you miss Canadians, how much you miss that sense of adventure that Canadians have. Really, you could hear in the words how much you want to woo these visitors back.
Absolutely. It was really important to us. We traditionally will have a full court marketing campaign for that busy summer travel season. But this year we knew, we could kind of read the climate, and we knew that, the time necessarily wasn't right for a hard sell. And in fact, a lot of destinations in the US have stopped marketing as much in Canada. But for us, it was really important to remain present and top of mind with a strong message of you're welcome, whether that's tomorrow, a few months from now, a few years from now, whenever the time is right. Rochester, New York will be here and ready to welcome Canadian travelers with arms wide open.
Well, you got one thing right. It's going to take years, maybe a lot of years. And for some Canadians like me, it's going to be never. I can't stand that line, when you're ready to come back, we'll be waiting. It's like they think we'll eventually just change our minds while they sit back and change absolutely nothing. That mindset, it doesn't make me want to return. It does the opposite. It actually makes me more angrier. You want to win us back? Don't wait. Do something. Show that you're willing to push for real change. Stand up. Speak out. Protest. Lobby. Call your own government. I don't know. Do something. Because if you're just going to be waiting for Canadians to move on and forget, you're going to be waiting a very long time.
As I said, we have a very special relationship between a city like Rochester and Canada, specifically the Ontario province and around the Toronto area. And we've enjoyed many years of shared, really of friendship. And so whenever the time is right and people feel ready, we cannot wait to welcome our cross-border neighbors back to our community. But until then, we understand and we'll be waiting.
And Rachel, it's really those two realities that Canadians are navigating, the one reality of the political tension and the reality that the two countries are neighbors with a lot of people, with friends and family on both sides of the border. I want to address a very real concern of Canadians, that fear of what they might experience at the border, what they might experience in the United States. How do you respond to those concerns?
Absolutely, yes. We've fielded inquiries from visitors with these concerns. So as far as at the border crossing, our message to travelers is, of course, we don't necessarily, as a tourism marketing agency, we don't necessarily have jurisdiction at the border, but we encourage travelers to review the guidelines as to making sure they have all the right documentation and all the proper credentials for any kind of border crossing.
So the big takeaway from her message is basically, just make sure your paperwork is in order and follow the guidelines. That's it. What she doesn't seem to get is that many Canadians do have their paperwork sorted. We've crossed the border for years. We know the process. But now, even with everything in order, we're still getting pulled aside, bullied, searched, and left with a negative experience at both land crossings and airport. What changed isn't the paperwork, it's the attitude. CBP these days, the intimidation is real, the profiling is real, and the questions? Sometimes they feel more like interrogations than entry checks. So why would anyone want to deal with that? And now, with the proposed $250 visa integrity fee looming in the background, it might get worse. Now, before people jump into the comments, yes, I know Canadians don't need a visa to go to the US. We don't have forms to fill out. Let's be honest, details on the new fee are still vague, and with the way things are going lately, you never really know what will change next. All I'm saying is that it's just another looming deterrent, and that list keeps getting longer.
But what I can wholeheartedly assure your viewers is that if you come to Rochester, you will be welcomed, you will be safe, and really we miss our Canadian our visitors, and so that was why we wanted to write a love letter saying we see you, we miss you. So definitely review the latest border crossing guidelines and make sure that you have everything you need. But I can attest that once you're here in Rochester, you will be welcomed with big open arms because we have such a special relationship.
All right, message widely broadcasted and may be received by the Canadians watching right now. Rachel Labour with Visit Rochester. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I hope to see everyone in Rochester soon.
So like I said at the beginning of the video, CBC disabled the comments on theirs, which means Rachel never got to see how Canadians actually feel about her little message to us. So I'm calling on you right now, my viewers, to let her know in these comments exactly how we feel. Now look, I already know some people are going to say I'm being too harsh, or that I'm repeating myself, that my videos are just saying the same thing over and over again, and maybe they're actually starting to get boring. Well, here's the truth. The channel exists because of the 51st state rhetoric, because the US officials and media refuse to understand how pissed off Canadians actually are. One after another, Every government or tourism rep keeps sending the same tired message, and it's clearly not working. Pretty soon, I'll have enough of these videos to make a full Brady Bunch grid of all the US officials and businesses that have said the same thing. When you're ready to come back, we'll be here waiting. Seriously, it's the same script over and over, no change, no reflection, no protests, no going to their own government, pleading, boycotting. Just the weird idea that we'll magically forget everything and show up at the border smiling. If you feel the same way that I do, drop a comment below and let Rachel and everyone else watching know that Canadians are not backing down. And hit the like and subscribe button to help get this message out to more people. Feel free to share it with your friends. And if you're still here, check out the other videos showing up on your screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.